Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey, Karl Bryan coming at you. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Business Coaching Secrets. I'm here with my good friend. I got a very, very, very special treat for you. This young guy, you're going to hear from in a second, is the founder and CEO of BetterWealth. I think he's read every finance book under the sun. Him and I have talked many a times, and I'm like, you read that one too? He ran an investment department of a bank at the ripe old age of 19. He's a young, up-and-coming star of investing in finance. As far as I'm concerned, he's going to become the new face of finance, quite frankly. He's authored a book called The And Asset, that if you haven't seen it, you haven't heard about it, you need to, and we're about to hear about it a little bit more. He's also got his own podcast going called BetterWealth, which quite frankly is absolutely unbelievable. Should be tuning into that. He's spoken around the world. He's a young guy, and quite frankly, somebody I have an enormous amount of respect for. And if you follow me at all, you know that I don't interview people very often. And this is one of the guys who I said, Caleb, we need you, man. So it is my absolute honor to introduce this young man. His name is Caleb Guilliams, a special young man. And Caleb, are you there, man? Good to have you here, dude.
I'm not only here. I'm ready to hire you to just follow me around and intro me. I appreciate
man,
you.
I'll get you a date, man. Tell your girlfriend. Your girlfriend will be disappointed you met me because I'll have the girls lining up with an introduction like that. What do you think?
I would love that. Well, if this whole coaching thing doesn't work out, hit me up, bro.
Give me a job. All right.
Yeah.
Well, look, in all seriousness, man, it's really good to have you here, man. You are a special human being. As you know, you and I had some pretty good chats. So I want to get into this, man. I think I just want to get straight to it. You got to tell me, and I want you to tell everybody, how in the world do you take over the investment department of a bank at the ripe old age of 19? How does that happen?
And I'm so glad that we're on here. And it's funny because you're hearing me speak. But if you would see me speak, your audience would have a mini heart attack. And the heart attack would go something like this. It'd be like, how in the world does someone who doesn't look like he's 14 years old have anything to say about anything as it relates to money? And I think that is very much the what a lot of people at the bank were thinking when they walked in. My story in a nutshell is I grew up in central Wisconsin, oldest of 6 kids. My dad's in the medical field. I was homeschooled. My parents did a phenomenal job, but we're not entrepreneurs. I've always been interested in money. My first job, I worked at a chicken farm and actually gutted chickens with my bare hands and started making money. And that's when I started thinking about this whole money thing to be really interesting. Got a job at a bank at 17, which I then worked in every department and learned a ton, read a little book called Think and Grow Rich, and realized that, man, like I want to be valuable. I really very much cared less about the money I was making currently and more wanted to create value. Worked in our investment department as an investment assistant. And then when I was 19 years old, the guy that was running our investment department took another job, and I became one of the youngest people in the country to take over a bank's investment department. We had a corner office. I had my own phone, bank computer, and pretty much helped people, helped business owners, helped people manage their money. And so that's how the story turned out. The guy that was running the bank, who's like a second father to me, gave me a very cliche statement. And this is the statement. He said, Caleb, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I then stumbled on Simon Sinek and realized that our why and people's outcomes are far more important than the technical money stuff. And if I could help someone get super clear on what's important to them, this whole money thing can actually be reverse engineered. And so I went on a journey, Karl. I know that you teach a lot about this, and I learned from experts. I think people pitied me at first, but I learned from people about efficiency, taxes, money, and I really became empowered to not only teach this, but start my own company and be able to help people all around the world, quite frankly, understand this whole money thing and take back control.
Cool. So let me ask you, so you were obviously doing well at the bank. You said second father kind of looking after you. No doubt you were in a pretty comfortable place. I often talk about order, chaos, right? You were clearly in order there. And why did you leave and go start your own company? That sounds like a big leap.
I left because I promised myself early on that I wouldn't regret anything out of life. I made a mission statement for myself, which read to help people see and reach their highest potential. In short, I feel like most people are living to a fraction of that. And I think money is not the solution, but I feel like the way that people think about their life in the context of time and money is hugely responsible for keeping people behind. And so I looked at that mission statement, which I want to help people live their highest potential. I graduated college a year early. I'm sitting in a really cushy, safe gig, and I realized, and I knew that I'm not fulfilled. And it had nothing to do with the bank. It just had to do with I knew I had so much more in me.
More.
And so I left at 21 and started BetterWealth.
I love it. You're a crazy. How old, this mission statement that you mentioned earlier, how old were you when you did that? Make us all jealous here.
Yeah. I actually started when I was 18 years old, and it was so interesting because I would end each of my emails with that. And then one of my bank managers, she took that and actually made a plaque for me because she's like a scrapbooker, and it hangs on my wall to this day. It's one of the most precious gifts I've ever received in my life. And so, yeah, I'm that's one of my secret powers, by the way, is I think mission driven and having clear understanding of your why is needed if we're going to help other people live to their highest potential.
I love it, man. And sorry, how old were you when you came up with that? Sorry,
I was 18 years old.
Oh my gosh, you legend. Okay, so next thing I want to know, like you talk, because again, at the end of the day, man, you're a young guy, but you're an investment finance guy, through and through. You talk a lot about somebody's number one asset. So, right. Them being the number one asset. I'm curious why, like as an investment guy, you don't often hear that. Tell me why are you so on board with that, and what does that mean to you?
Well, so in the world of finance, there's pretty much, this is going to offend some people, but pretty much most people are just robots. They literally just get in line, tell me what to sell, and they just do what they're told. And so I got into this finance game. I went to college. I learned how to do time value of money. I knew that, okay, we need to save money. We need to invest it. Mutual funds are the way to go. I learned all these things, and I just couldn't help but to ask myself, like, is this really the best way? And then I saw person after person just come through, and they just were empty. They were not living to their highest potential. I had business owners strapped for money. I had people going to school because that's what they were told to do. I just had people just not, like, there's a reason why most people are broke. So I started asking questions. And I realized this is one of the biggest thing I realized is the people that were winning in life valued themselves and what they did with their money, what they did with their time, how they spent their resources backed up that statement that they were their greatest asset. And yet on a balance sheet, and I get fired up about this, but on a balance sheet, you won't find your name anywhere. A balance sheet is breaking down into assets and liabilities, and supposedly that's supposed to give you a net worth, and that's helpful, and you need that to get a loan. But at the end of the day, I saw so many people checking the box, but doing the exact opposite of what they really wanted out of life. And so it's really interesting. I think wealth is a combination of three things: your time, your money, and your abilities. And if we can help people best master those three things, like that is wealth, and getting clarity on where do you want to go. And so that I think it's ironic that Bay Street or Wall Street or the banks tell us to do one thing with our money and do the exact opposite. And so I think I was just smart enough to say, man, maybe there's something different here. And then as I got mentored by people that actually were wealthy, they realized that their money was behind themselves, and we are a derivative of anything that we've created. Any wealth that you have is because of you. So let's make sure that we don't devalue ourselves. Let's make sure that we don't. I think devalue is a good word of what most people are doing to themselves.
I agree, man. I love it. So tell me, a lot of your stuff, you talk opportunity cost. When I say opportunity cost, what do you say back to me?
So opportunity cost is essentially that every decision we make has a consequence. So by me being on here with you, Karl, I'm not able to do emails. I'm not able to do other podcasts. I'm not able to do anything else. there's a cost for me to be on here. The same thing goes with our money. Every decision we make with our money has a short-term and long-term cost. If you're listening to this, I want you to write two C's down. So C squared, and in my book, which we'll give a free copy to everyone listening to this, I talk about an equation that involves two C's. And opportunity cost is essentially a function of long-term and short-term. So C number one is compounding. Albert Einstein is noted for saying that compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. And compound interest is just a function of your money growing over time with a consistent interest rate. And so every decision you make, like when I made this example the other day, when I took my friends out to lunch and spent $64 over my lifetime, Karl, that lunch actually cost me thousands of dollars. Why? Because my $64 are never able to earn for me ever again, and the long-term cost of that is something. At the same time, the other C is control. And if you're listening to this, or if you're lucky enough to be coached by Karl, controlling your time and your money is far more important than compounding. Because control is saying, what could I do with $1 today that could multiply it? Compounding is playing the long-term game, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just math. But control is saying, what can I do with my time and money to multiply to 10x? If you want to look at people that are wealthy, they understand how to control their money, and they also maximize compounding at the same time. So when it comes to opportunity cost, every decision we make has a consequence. We have to understand that there's two forces, long-term and short-term. And as a company, we want to help entrepreneurs and coaches and investors best maximize their money and their time, short-term and the long-term, because you really need to understand both when you make a money decision.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you say, like, what are the biggest obstacles that hold somebody back from building wealth?
Number one, straight up, is their mindset. And I think we could jam on this, because I think that's the number one thing that are holding people, period,
Absolutely.
back. And I think there's some people that have a negative view of money. I think there's some people that feel like they don't deserve money. And then there's some people that are way too confident, and they just think money is a tool for pleasure, and like it's just like a status symbol. And so I think if we take a step back, money is a tool. Money is a tool, and it essentially is an amplifier. It will, if you have a vision, if you're doing well, if you have a process, money can help you get there quicker. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. But that fire example is actually good, because your life could be a mess, and just by having more money could make it an even greater mess. It's less of the metric. Like, what I want people to understand is money itself is not the metric. The bank account number is not the metric. It's living intentionally. And so money is a tool to better do that. And so I think the biggest obstacle is most people have no clue where they're going. And as a result, it's super evident in how they show up. And can I share one other thing that talks about mindset?
Yeah, for sure.
We talk about ROR, and a lot of people in the financial space, when they think of ROR, they think of return on, rate of return. They think of return on risk. And ROR for us is really simple. It's return on result. And what do I mean by that? If we get super clear on what you want, everything else in your life gets easier, including your money. That is the number one mistake that people make. They think they want X, but what they actually want is Y. And if they get clear on Y, financial freedom or independence is just being intentional, living out the desire that you want.
Can you give me, Caleb, can give me an example of that? Like, where are they, what would be an example of what they would normally say versus what they should type of thing? Like, give me an example of that if you could.
A perfect example is a lot of entrepreneurs are building a business. They're hiring people. They're doing some amazing things, and they're investing in something called a 401k. Okay. Now, 401k is an instrument that we've all told to invest in, and it can be amazing, and there can be some tax advantages. But I look at that decision, and I usually ask an entrepreneur, what do they actually want? And they tell me they're passionate about their business. They buy into living intentionally. They're giving me all these things that are important to them. And then I do an audit of where their money's actually going or where it's invested in. And I ask the question, is this thing best showing up to help you live what you just told me to? And they're like, oh, like it just hit them. It's like they're doing the exact opposite of what they told me. They're super aligned with where they want to go, but where they're putting their money and how they're thinking about their money, they're essentially turning off part of their brain. Because a 401k in itself is not bad, but if you need more capital in your life, and you're diligently saving, and you're saving it into something that's going to defer your tax and lock it up, and you lose some control, and yet your business is helping you make that money to begin with, that could be a conflict of interest that might not best serve you. It's not that the 401k is bad. It's that decision process is being divorced and cut apart where it should be put together.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually teach that very similarly with so I do it with time, right? The same way that you just said that with money, I go with their time, and I say, so look, I call it an Uber metaphor. And it's like Uber built a $150 billion company on 2 questions. Where are you? Where do you want to go? So,
I love it.
and normally when I call it the little red arrow, you are here. Like just picture you're skiing and you're at the top of the mountain, right? You look at that map. I look at that map. The most important part is you are here. But anyways, and then where do you want to go? And then they tell us, and then I look at their time, and it absolutely, like, they're water skiing, they're on their boat, they're, taking trips, like finally their money thermostat, all about that, right? The money thermostat gets above where they're comfortable, and next thing you know, they're on a plane to wherever, and they don't, which is fine, and everybody should take holidays, but their time is not consistent with building the 7-figure business that they're talking about. So that's really interesting. That's a ridiculous parallel. I love it.
Well, and
good job,
Karl,
man.
said that, and I'm actually going to start using that as an example because we do the same thing with money, and that's exactly it. You get clear where you're at and where you want to go. Then the money decision is actually really, really easy. Same thing with time. Well, the problem is, most people are like Alice in Wonderland at the fork in the road, has no clue where they want to go. And then what does the cat say? Any road will get you there. Most people are approaching life that way.
Yeah, agreed. So for everybody listening, and understand, business coaches are our clients, and then their clients are the business owners, right? But like, what are the first steps that people can take, towards we'll call it a great financial life, or what can they do both today and in the future to start moving in the right direction towards what they want?
I'm going to give you 4 quick wins and do them in order. And if everyone does this, I'm telling you, I'm getting goosebumps. Like, this will change their life. Okay.
Awesome.
So step number 1, answer what your ROR is. What would you do if money wasn't an issue? How would you define financial success? If we don't get clarity on this, Karl, we can't move forward. Okay, so that's step number 1, clarity. Step number 2 is audit what you're currently doing. It's awful coming into a doctor, and if the doctor doesn't even listen to what you're doing, it's like good coaches audit and listen and seek to understand where people are at. You need to do the same thing with your money. So 3 things to audit. Audit your cash flow. Cash flow is money coming in. Ask the question, can we increase that? For most of your audience, the answer is yes. For most of the people that they coach, the answer is yes. And then money can either go 2 places. It can be saved for a future date, or it's gone. Start tracking where that money is. And the first thing that we do at BetterWealth is we help people start highlighting areas that they could be more efficient with cash flow. The second thing as it relates to the audit is your assets. An asset is anything that's of value. Now, you and I both love Robert Kiyosaki. He talks about an asset being anything that puts money in your pocket. And I think that's a great next step. But just audit what you have. Do you have a IRA, 401k? Do you have a qualified retirement account? Do you have money in savings? Do you have a house? Start listing that and ask the question, is this retirement account, is this house, is this car, is this blank helping me best live, go back to your clarity piece, live that result? So start auditing your assets. And then finally, debt is this funny thing. I think the 5% of people that use debt well are able to create massive wealth, and the 95% of people that don't understand debt are getting drowned by it. And so the same thing I ask with debt is I be able to identify good debt and bad debt. And here's a quick litmus test on how to do that. Is this debt allowing you to put more money in your pocket, or is it taking more money out of your pocket? And if by having a debt like a mortgage, or maybe a business loan, or maybe even a car loan, if that's allowing you to be able to put more money in your pocket now and in the future, it's good debt. Most debt that people have, like consumer debt, credit card debt, I would put in the category of bad debt. And this is essentially, by having this, more money is leaving because I'm using my credit card to go on a vacation or buy something that I probably shouldn't buy, or maybe buy a car that I shouldn't buy. So the good debt puts money back in. Bad debt puts pulls money out, and obviously there's way more that we can go in detail of all three. But the second step is audit what you're currently doing. So the story that I'll give is this. So step number 1 is know where your destination is. Step number 2 is take your foot off the brake, because right now you're excited and your foot's on the gas, but your other foot's on the brake. We need to audit where you are and eliminate all inefficiencies in your life. Step number three is all about being consistent. One of the biggest things I learned from The Richest Man in Babylon is there's something to say about paying yourself first. And so one of the things that we want to be able to do is identify what you need to be consistent in. And for most people, it's starting to save. Like, we need to save towards something. We need to pay ourselves first. We need to be consistent with the number one thing that we can do, that such by doing makes everything else better, easier, or unnecessary. And I got that from our good friend from The One Thing. And then finally, we need to use our capital. This is the most important thing. When we're consistent with saving, we now need to use our money and invest in the activity that will help us gain the best results. So let me explain. When we talked for the first time, Karl, you asked me about real estate. I think real estate's incredible. Here's why. It will grow in value most likely. It will most likely cash flow. It will give you special tax advantages, and you get to use leverage to acquire it. So do I give a blanket statement that everyone should do real estate? The answer is absolutely not. Majority of people shouldn't do real estate because it also can be a terrible thing if you don't know what you're doing. Should people start a coaching business? For every one person we say yes, we know 10 people that probably shouldn't. Should people be an entrepreneur? People that are listening to this, is everyone designed to be an entrepreneur? So for when people ask me, should I invest in this? My question is the following. What is the one thing that you can do with your time, your money, and your expertise that can help you live the life that you want? I go back to the clarity piece. And for some people, it's passively investing in real estate. For some people, it's literally hiring you full time, dude, to help them double their business. For some people, it's passively investing in a 401k. For others, it's creating a real estate portfolio. For others, it's hiring a marketing person. And I know that people don't love that I don't give like a straight up answer, but if I believe that you are your greatest asset and you are the derivative to make everything else in your life happen, we need to start asking our question, where should we be putting our time and money? And if you're killing it in business and there's like, you don't want to grow, then we need to, where can you put your money to help you live that result? So in summary, clarity, audit for efficiency. The third area is consistency. And the fourth area is using your money and using/investing, but not just passively investing in the number one thing that will help you live the life that you desire.
Love it. High five, man. You're a smart young man. So tell me, you didn't come out of your mother's womb with this. Tell me, who are your strongest mentors? Where'd you learn all this stuff from?
So when I was 15 years old and gutting chickens, I had a good friend of mine for my birthday actually get me a newsletter to a money outlet, and I read The Richest Man in Babylon. And from there, I got mentored a lot by podcasts, and I got mentored a lot by other people. But then I started asking people in our hometown. I would call CEOs. One of my mentors worth over $600 million. He sold his last company to Warren Buffett, and I met with him starting when I was 19 years old, and he encouraged me to start my business. He encouraged me to make different decisions on money stuff. A lot of the stuff I learned, and then in the financial space, I mean, you name a person in the financial space, I've either learned from them indirectly or I've like been at their house and learned from them. And so, like this didn't happen overnight. I was actually, when I was 12 or 13 years old, man, I was dyslexic. I still have a reading disability. I don't like the word disability, by the way, but reading's really tough for me. And I was super short for my age. Now the good news is I am somewhat taller now. I'm not. You wouldn't say I'm tall, but I'm not short. But back in the day, my parents, while they're not entrepreneurs, really helped me focus on what was important and focus on the things that I can control, which is most things in life. But then also suffocated the victim mentality of me complaining about, how I was super short. And so they encouraged me to be proactive and focus on the right things. But mentorship is everything. And I'm only here because of mentors.
Yeah. High five that one, man. I believe absolute superpower. So tell me, this is kind of a difficult one to put a finger on, but like, I want you to you want to jump into pull out the crystal ball and tell me, where do you see real estate being in 5 years? Like if I bought a piece of real estate right here today, because I believe, we got some we got some, living in the middle of a pandemic and some wild stuff going on. Where do you see on a house that is 500 grand today? Where do you see it being in 5 years if you're to look in your crystal ball when I put you on the spot?
That's a great question. And here's how I'd answer this is right now we have interest rates that are all-time low. We have some of the craziest numbers in the history of, the United States / just the world. And there's tons of uncertainty. And yet the stock market and real estate market at the time of this recording are at all-time high. Like right now, I'm recording this in Denver, and the houses around here, it's insane. So here's what's interesting to me is if you geek out about this stuff like I do, there's actually a trend, and a lot of people say that houses will just grow in value, and there's something true about a physical asset because as people come and go, like the world's not multiplying the space. So there's something about a fixed asset. But if you look at back in the 80s, interest rates were insanely high.
Yep.
Not that I personally knew, but what I read about. And so if you look at the trend, a lot of people just assume, okay, houses go up in value. Did houses go up in value, or did interest rates decrease, and did our payment buy us a bigger house? And now that's a deep statement, but if you look at the trends, if you look at the housing going up, it really follows the interest rates decreasing, because in 1980, when you had a 19% interest rate, your payment, you could afford a $500 payment, let's just say. Well, now a $500 payment, because interest rates are so low, gets you a bigger house. So I am a little bit concerned about interest rates, and as our country continues to print money, it will be interesting to see how that inflates the money pool. I don't think you can go wrong if you buy real estate well because of those 4 benefits. And again, a physical shelter will always be powerful. I'm really bullish on value creation, and I think most people are totally undervaluing business and the value that they can create and that wealth can create through business. So business is my number one thing that I am personally investing in and creating funds around that. Real estate is my number 2 investment as it relates to something that I'm hedging on. But like I said, majority of my eggs are in the business wealth creation.
Got it. Love it. And I share your sentiments almost exactly. Got multiple podcasts out there where I've talked about this, but with interest rates so low, I just don't see how, because as a general rule, if you look over the last 100 years, real estate will double in price every 10 years, approximately, right?
Yep.
With interest rates where they're at, there's nowhere for them to go. So I personally can't see that happening. But again, as you just said, like they're not, building more land. So therefore, there's a.
Let me ask you this:
go.
Are wages increasing? Are we seeing wages increase? Not even close. Yeah. So that's that. You mentioned something really powerful. It's like it's the same thing with the stock market, supply and demand, and the stock market's not going to double either. Because just look at the math. It just mathematically, and if you look at where the demographic is, so yeah, I share your same. Like I think it's, again, what does Robert Kiyosaki say? Don't buy a house just for the tax benefits. I think if you understand cash flow, which the world revolves around cash flow, and you get into a smart deal, that's one thing. But just to buy something like stocks or real estate for the appreciation, for the growth, I think you're going to be disappointed. That's my prediction.
Yep, I agree. I want to make sure everybody just heard what you said. Like the way I describe that is you make the money when you buy, not when you sell. So, if there's a killer deal on real estate and you're able to buy a $500,000 house for $350,000, you should think very, very seriously about buying that because you just made 150 grand the day that you signed the papers. But that being said, there's more factors that come into it, so be a little bit cautious. But yeah, I like that. Another thing I say, Caleb, that I think you'll like is that your greatest successes will come through other people. That's more related to business, right? So as you're saying that exactly, like if somebody's going to look to invest in, in their future, hiring a staff member, like if you're a business coach,
Yep.
hire somebody. If you're like a hot salesperson, hire a coach. And if you're a hot coach, hire a salesperson, right?
Yep.
Totally do that. So anyway, so just, everybody listening again, business is the big one, and investing there will get you a pretty sweet return on average. No doubt you'd agree with that. In fact, you
100%. And I love that their coaches are listening to this, because a common question I'll get is, in a world of uncertainty or inflation, where's the best place to put my money? And it's always goes back to this. I don't know what will happen in the future. I do know the people that provide value will always feed their families.
Yeah. Here we go, man.
Yeah.
High five.
Yeah, that's
So
powerful.
speaking of feeding their families, oh, sorry, buddy, go.
No, I said that's just powerful, that money follows value. Like, if never lose sight of that, or we'll just get into these get rich quick schemes, and it's not about that.
Exactly. Like, people right now, like we're living in some crazy times of politics and everything else, and you go to your Facebook feed and people are debating on whether or not, somebody should or should not be president. And it's like, take that time, energy, and focus on put it towards value, the way that you describe it, right? Like, become the best restaurant, the best personal trainer, the best business coach, the best whatever, fill in the blank. Spend your time on that, and it won't matter who the heck, the biggest dumb of all time could come and take over the country, and it's not going to affect you. Like, that's the solution. So anyways, no doubt we both agree on that one. But here's a big one, man. Your book is absolutely stinking unbelievable. The And Asset. Tell us a little bit about it. I want to understand what was the concept, the reason behind it, and tell us a little bit about it. It's awesome.
Yeah. So as I was working at the bank, my goal was to be a hedge fund manager and invest options for people. And so as I was learning about, all this with money and learning the framework and realizing that, man, like there's so much here, there's so much lack of efficiency that people are experiencing, I discovered that most banks, most Fortune 500 companies, a lot of the wealthy and most of my mentors put a lot of their money into what I thought was the worst asset of all time, life insurance. Like, literally, they would put thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in life insurance. And I always thought that life insurance was a terrible, terrible place to put your money. And so as I was doing research and learning, I realized that 95% of life insurance is not good. A lot of people are not setting it up properly. And as a result, it has a very bad rap. But the people that are designing life insurance, that are overfunding it, which is a fancy word for saying they're putting a lot of money in for a little bit of insurance, and they're really maximizing the contract, the living value, like what their cash is doing. I realized that they were experiencing some amazing things with their money. In fact, they were able to grow their money tax advantage and still be able to use that money to invest in their business and their real estate. And so the big aha moment I had was, majority of people are being told that they need to either choose, remember my 2 C's, they either need to choose between now, savings account, 0 interest, invest in their business, or future, retirement account, IRAs, Roth IRAs, whatever. And you couldn't have both. And what I realized is life insurance is not an investment. It's not an investment. It's not an investment. But it's an amazing place to save and store capital to then employ your cash to do more than one thing. So the thesis in my book is essentially this: if you can give $1 more than one job, you will win in the end. And my book is all about eliminating the false choice of saving for the future and having control over your money, and showing people, I literally break down the strategy of controlled compounding. It is possible to save money and have it compound tax-free, without fees, without losses, for the rest of your life, and have capital to invest in your business and your marketing and hiring another person in real estate or whatever. And when you can take $1 and give it more than one job, you will win in the end.
Yeah, I love that. You take $1 and give it more than one job. Oh my God, I hope for everybody listening, I hope you're understanding the power of that. It's a powerful statement, my friend. Powerful statement. Well done.
Thank you. And
All
so
right,
I wrote
buddy.
a book. I wrote a book
Yeah,
called
go.
The And Asset, and essentially we show people how to implement that. And I know that we're going to give everyone that's listening to this a free copy, because I want to support what you're doing, and everyone listening to this, like, you guys work so hard. I want you to make sure that your money starts working as hard, or if harder than you are.
Yeah. It's crazy how people just spend no time thinking about what you're like. I also talk about that. Like, if you give me a room of 100 people and I say, what's the number one expense in your life? 80 hands will go up for mortgage and housing. And the reality is, I know, and hopefully if you're listening, you know this because I've said it many times, but the number one expense in your life, my life, every person we know's life is taxes. And it's not by a little, it's not by a lot. It's like by a country frickin' mile.
Yeah.
So therefore, what Caleb is talking about, and really what you really just said in a nutshell, is that insurance, which people, tend to kind of poo-poo and shy away from, is like, it's an unbelievable tax strategy. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah. So guys, take advantage. Caleb, you are a champion, man. I really appreciate you. I really admire you, man. You're on this kid. I call him a kid. He's a young guy, man, or folks, but he is a special human being, man. He has got a message, and we've had a number of chats, and he is authentic as they come. And one day I'm going to be very, very proud to be able to say that I remember when I could get him on for an interview, he actually showed up. So you are a star amongst stars and only going to grow, man. So I'm excited to watch you. And on that note, I want my folks to be able to follow you. So tell me, you're going to give everybody a book, which I think is amazing. You generous son of a gun, you. And where can they also find out more? Tell us about yourself, man. How do we find you?
The website that you should go to right now is betterwealth.com/focused. And that's focus with an ED. I'm doing this for you because I know that people know that word and associate it with you, Karl. Is if they go to betterwealth.com/focused, we are literally going to even pay for the shipping of the And Asset book, and all the resources of our free assessment, of extra, money bonuses and things will be there. And then obviously I have a podcast called Better Wealth with Caleb. And if you go there, you can listen to our journey. But Karl, I want you to know that I am so grateful for you. You are authentic. You're passionate. I know multiple people in your program that rave about you. And so it is an honor not just to be speaking with you, but I'm excited to see, as we both grow, the impact that we're going to have on other people's lives. And I say that sincerely.
I know. Look, buddy, I know. Again, we've had chats about that. So for everybody listening, man, this is authentic as she gets. Not that it would ever not be authentic, but it's authentic. This is a up and coming superstar, man. So look, Caleb, you legend, guys. Everybody listening, get your butt over to betterwealth.com/focus. And of course, I know a few of you. I know I'm going to read some comments about this, so you guys read my emails, and you know that I don't do joint ventures and I don't do affiliate agreements. Okay, so this is a giveaway. There's not some path that hopefully you're going to spend some money with Caleb one day. That would be amazing, but I'm not going to see any of it. I don't need to see any of it. I'm happy for you guys just to go follow the young man and watch his match. And again, I keep referring to young man and kid. Believe me, this guy, he's a special human being. Don't you worry about that. And I think if you've also got, some of you've got, sons and daughters and grandkids and that sort of stuff. I think also, again, if you've got somebody that's a little bit younger looking for a path and looking for somebody maybe they can relate to, maybe they hear Robert Kiyosaki and it's just, he's just not their guy. This could be their guy. So I really want to encourage you guys to get over and check out Caleb's stuff. He's a champion. So look, Caleb, that's it for us, man. You told me you were going to deliver and you did in spades. Not that that surprises me in any way, shape or form, but good job, man. And I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well, man, and excited to see what the future holds. Thank you.
Awesome, man. All right, buddy. That's it for us and everybody listening. Thanks so much. And another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. We'll catch up some other time.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at Focused.com.